I'm saying one of the problems is that Dick Cheney, Michelle Bachmann, the George Bushes of the world are telling the working class and middle class, if you vote for a Democrat, they're going to take your guns away from you. I say, if you hear Michelle Bachmann telling you that a Democrat's going to take your guns away, first thing you do is put your hand over your wallet. The Republican policies are only for the very wealthy. Unless you're making more than $300,000 a year, or about to inherit more than $4 million from mommy and daddy, or living off your capital gains and dividends, you cannot afford to vote Republican. Most Republican members of Congress cannot afford to vote Republican.
Eva Young for The Uptake, interviewing Bob Olson. Bob Olson is one of 2 DFL candidates vying for endorsement to run against Michelle Bachmann.
I was born in North Branch, Minnesota. My father was an evangelical free church minister. We moved to Malacca, Minnesota. I graduated from Bethel College with a degree in psychology and a minor in history and philosophy. Went to Bethel Seminary for a couple of years, and then took some business administration at St. Thomas College, and then graduated from the University of Minnesota Law School. I've been practicing law first in downtown St. Paul, and now in downtown Minneapolis, primarily in the area of tax, corporate finance law. I live in St. Cloud. I own a bank in St. Cloud, the St. Stephen State Bank. We've got branches in St. Cloud, Sauk Rapids, and St. Stephen. I founded the American Sustainable Energy Council about 4 years ago. So my view is, if we're going to discriminate under the Constitution against people who happen to be gay, if we're using the Bible as a reference for that, must also discriminate in the same way against anybody who's been envious, who has been jealous, who has disobeyed a parent. It's right there in the same part of the scriptures.
Okay, thank you.
The Old Testament deals with that behavior in the same sections that it condemns eating shrimp, eating pork. So if we want to go to the Old Testament to look for our guidance, we probably should ban marriage among people who have eaten pork. Now, this is a little facetious, but not really. This is the position from which Mrs. Bachmann comes does not represent what most evangelicals represent. Most evangelicals represent equality, love, caring for poor, caring for children, and she represents the marginalized radical religious right that are what I would call hypocrites, much like Jesus in the New Testament called the scribes and Pharisees such hypocrites. Let's talk about taxes in general. And as soon as I see your eyes glazing over, I will stop within 5 minutes. But I am very much looking forward to tax law debates with Michelle Bachmann. She says she's a tax attorney. I am a tax attorney. I've been practicing the tax law for 30 years, every day. I understand the tax law. I advocate what I call fair share taxation. We need the upper incomes paying their fair share of taxes. The middle class, the working class, is paying far more than its fair share of taxes. And let me give you an illustration, real quick illustration. We've got 3 people. One person just inherited $1 million from mommy and daddy. Another person is making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and living off their capital gains and dividends. Another person's making $32,000 of earned taxable income. The person making the $32,000 of earned taxable income by working for their job gets another $1,000. Each of these gets another $1,000. That person pays 25%, $250 on that on their $1,000 for the person earning their income, plus another 7.5% for FICA, plus another 7.5% their employer's FICA. 40 cents of that next dollar goes to the federal government. The person living off their capital gains and dividends making $500,000, $1 million, we don't want to really tax them real hard. We appreciate the fact that they're investing their money 15 cents, 15%, $150. So we have 40%, 15%. The person who just inherited $1 million from mom and dad, they worked hard for this, you know, keep it all. No income tax, no estate tax. In fact, under the Republicans now, we'll let you inherit another $3 million, $4 million inheritance without paying a nickel of income tax or estate tax ever on that $4 million. They can sell it and pay no income tax, no capital gain tax. This isn't right.